Hello, this is Eindu from the future speaking. I'm currently at chapter 325, and these are what my theories look like so far. Okay, so I made this theory like actually last stream where I reached chapter 325, I think. So I want to quickly go over my theories before I started volume 2 and now in the middle of volume 2, and let's see what I wrote down. I do want to remind you guys that the reactions to the novel have not stopped. If you look at my videos, they're not here in the video tab, right? There's the, quiz I did and stuff like that, but it's mostly like anime and stuff. I have a donghua channel. If you're interested in donghua reactions, it's down here, I do donghua, right? We're posting a lot of different donghua reactions over there as well. But where you can find the Lord of Mysteries novels, because people have been asking me, you go to the live tab. It does not show up in your like main page probably. You go in the live tab and the most recent reaction is the volume 1 finale, of course. But I will be slowly releasing volume 2 reactions now, and if you do want to watch like the full VOD, you can at Patreon. But these are where my novel readings go, so you have to click especially here on live, or you can go to my playlist, which is down here. All the mysteries playlist, and if you go all the way down, it's the novel readings, right? So let's get into my theories. I want to start off with theories that I wrote before jumping into volume 2. I wrote down 25 of them, and then in total so far I have 68 theories. So I'll go quickly over them and try to explain every theory and how I came up with it. But I was thinking about like editing from my live streams, but then again I was like, oh, it's gonna take so much time to like go through every live stream and find every theory. So in the future I'll probably like make a bookmark in the video itself, so I can put my live theories live as well. So volume 2 plot, Klein looking after Lanevus, right? Going after Lanevus and getting revenge. That did happen, by the way. New allies, new identity. Yeah, new identity was Sherlock Moriarty. New allies, I mean, we have Isengard, we have Stuart, we have Ian. So a lot of people actually. So yeah, Geo and Force. So learns about sequence 7 of Seer Magician. So 3 theories right so far. Magician came up by the process of elimination. I was thinking Trickster as well, but then sequence 8 of Apprentice is called Trickster, so I kinda did not go with that theory, and only thing I can think of is Magician, right? Force, Geo joined the Dark Club. Now, at this point where I'm at, Force has joined, Geo hasn't joined, right? Klein comes out to Asik about being alive. That can still happen, by the way. It hasn't happened yet, but it can still happen in Volume 2. Asik joins the Dark Club. Nope, not yet. These are just like guesses and stuff like that. I was trying to think to fill every single seat in the Grey Folk, because there are 22 seats, right? Ince joins the Diet Club without Klein knowing his identity. That will be absolute cinema, by the way. But for Ince to hide his identity, he is blind in one eye. I think it's very hard for Ince to do that. But then again, unless he has some kind of artifact, for example, maybe a faceless artifact, then he can do that, because we know that sequence 6 is called faceless, that can take like forms of other people, right? We're gonna see King George. We haven't yet, but I'm confident that we will. 008 has consciousness and plots against Ince. I was gonna say ice. Ince. Yeah, and the reason why I say that is because of the narration in donghua and the novel of 008 talking. I did elaborate on this theory later. I do think that 008 is a sequence 1 or sequence 0. Sequence 0 got revealed in volume 2 artifact, and maybe it even has like a Beyonder soul inside of it. Just like how, the Hidden Sage has no body and stuff like that. Maybe it's like some kind of like the same kind of vibe. Leonard and Klein team up, but Klein is under hidden identity. Now, that might happen when Klein becomes a faceless. Not right now, though, but I do think you're going to see Leonard in the new volume 2. But that hasn't happened yet, right? Because I think it's really hard for Klein to team up with anyone without like being faceless. The people that they know before, like Dali, Leonard, even like the other people from not Dark Club, sorry, the Nighthawks, right? Canon event for Audrey, like Susie dying or family assassinated. Now, I do think that because I think that's really like important for Audrey's character development, even though like she's been so fucking amazing. And this is more like a like spitting over my. I don't want it to happen, you know. Like I'm spitting the foreshadowing away. I'm spitting the jinxing away right now. I don't want it to happen, but I can see something like that happening. And we know that Susie has completely digested his sequence 9. Her sequence 9 potion, so she can advance, but you know, cannot talk really be as like full of mind. You know what I mean? Can she really do it? I hope so. Strong mental is the word I was looking for. In spotting that wants to sequence 3, Inns teams up with a secret org. I mean, he kind of did already team up with a secret organization. He used the Aurora Order, and there were probably like some, like, it's not, I don't think it's fully done with 008. I think he also like met up with them and teamed up with them as well. But we'll see though. I do think Inns is like mostly gonna work alone with 008 because I feel like a secret org might like hold him back or even like rat him out, you know, maybe he's scared about that. Klein fully digesting sequence 7 by the end of the volume. Yeah, I mean, he's already a magician, but I'm not sure if he's fully gonna digest it. Maybe. I'm halfway done in volume 2 right now. Rosell is going to mention the grey fog in one of his notes. I'm still waiting for that because I have a theory that Rosell, because he was the previous transmigrator, he had access to the grey fog, and I do think it's a chain of transmigrators where there was a transmigrator before Rosell, and I do think that transmigrator, or the first transmigrator, was the person who's called Celestial Worthy, the one that the luck enchantment that he was doing in the first episode, in the first pages of the novel. I'm talking about Klein, of course, and it was like from 3rd century China, the luck enchantment. So I'm wondering if the transmigrator, the first transmigrator, wasn't Rosell, but it was actually Celestial Worthy, who transmigrated around like 3 AD China, and somehow made his luck enchantment or whatever prayer go back to Earth or whatever, right? Klein is going to open a detective freelance business. It actually happened, and that's a purely, I guess, that was me guessing because of the name Sherlock Moriarty. That's it, right? And he actually did that. Klein is going to hire Dean Boy. Oh, okay, so this is now where, this was 15 theories before I started reading volume 2. At this point, I already did the first stream. The Dean Boy that I mentioned here is Ian Wright. It kind of happened, but not officially. The way I wrote this theory was that, maybe he's going to join as like a sidekick of Klein. It obviously hasn't happened yet. We did help him. He did hire us, but we didn't hire him as our like worker. So it's still not filled in. So I'm gonna put Ian instead of Dean Boy. To hire Ian Boy. Ian. Mr. Door was mentioned in one of Rosell's notes. I'm guessing, I skipped 17 for some reason, but Mr. Door, I think, is sequence 0 of Apprentice, is murmuring to Force. That was confirmed, by the way. That was confirmed, so I can write that down. It was confirmed in one of the chapters when Force joined Tarot Club, right? And of course, sequence 0 was also revealed, but I did add sequence 0 later. I went back in my notes after I was reading volume 2 and changed from sequence 1 to sequence 0. And then we had notes, Emperor of Underworld, I thought it was Death. This was also from Rosell's diary. The Half Insane Blood, Insane Blood Emperor was Monster Pathway. Night Emperor of the Truncest Empire is Sleepless Pathway. Now, these are only guesses by their names, because Underworld, Blood, and Night, that's the only reason why I connected this to these kinds of pathways, right? If Geo joins the Tarot Club, she's gonna choose Judgment Arcana. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm 95% sure that Geo is gonna join and choose Judgment. Klein is slowly losing his sanity. Now, that's up to debate, right? Because when he had the clown fights and stuff like that, he was laughing at the end. He was doing very exaggerated, facial expressions, and he was crying inside, but he was laughing. But it is literally like, oh, he's just doing it for acting, right? He's literally acting and advancing his clown potion. And that's not the only way he was acting as a clown. He also bought like column-trimmed glasses and shit like that. He was like spending money like, oh, you're a fucking clown. Who will spend money like that, right? So, it's not literally like a circus actor. He was also doing like stupid decisions, not in a fight or anything, but stupid decisions to do with money and stuff like that. So, yeah. Oil exists in the forgotten land of God. Yeah, because this was again brought up in Roselle's diary, and I have few theories, by the way. Maybe the old gods from first and second epoch somehow used up the oil for something else, which probably not. But I do think oil exists in the forgotten land of God, where Derek is from. City of Silver is in, because it's kind of like untouched lands, right? And oil doesn't apparently exist anywhere else. If Leonard joins the Terra Club, he's gonna choose the world. Now, that did not happen. Of course, we haven't seen Leonard yet, but the world was actually chosen by someone else. Klein Smurf. And how Klein was explaining and like joking and lampooning about saying Smurf and stuff. It was so fucking funny, dude. Like, he's such a fucking he used to be online, dude. He used to be like always online on the computer. I mean, his job was literally a software developer or something, so makes sense. And he keeps calling himself like a keyboard warrior and stuff. It just cracks me up every single time. Like, you don't hear these kinds of jokes in the donghua, and that's why I think novel is so fucking good, right? I do want to do like a full-on volume 1 review. I just haven't gotten around to it because I want to spend like 3 or 4 hours or a few days on the script, and then maybe a few days on like recording, and then a few days of editing. So this is going to be a pretty big project. I'll try to do like volume reviews after like few months after I finish it, right? So I can fully digest the volume. I'm digesting the volume. Anyway. If Force joins the Terra Club, she's going to choose the Moon Arcana. No, so I was wrong again, by the way, here. She actually chose the Magician Arcana, which is really interesting. Ian stole a high sequence beyond her item. I still think it's correct because, this goes back to the beginning of the volume of the Smunger Gang and Bakerland, and Ian stealing an item, and it has to be a beyond her item, right? But it's not confirmed. It's just like a guess, and it's because it cannot really be anything else, I guess. Right? This item has to have power. That's why they're so like hard against Ian and wanting to get him so badly. A war between Loan Kingdom and Intis Republic. Now, I wrote this down because a lot of tension, especially with Ambassador Bakerland, and there have been a lot of tension between Intis and Loan in the past. And I do feel like a war is also a benefit for the Aurora Order, right? So there's like Aurora Order stirring up conflict, and also the Bakerland situation. World War I started because of assassination of a I think it was like a senator or something. I forgot, but some kind of like aristocrat. Now, there were tensions already there, just like how there is tension right now between Loan and Intis. There was tension in World War I before it started, so it needs one event. It needs something, and I thought maybe it's gonna be Bakerland getting killed, but thank God that didn't happen. I mean, Bakerland did get killed by the Aurora Order, by the way, but it did not trigger a war. Not yet, right? Also wrote down Civil War in Intis Republic, overthrow of government, and installment of Sauron family to power. Sauron family still exists, obviously don't have any kind of power anymore. Government way, but they do have members still, and there might be a civil war, right? And I have a theory why Intis is not really that angry with Bakerland, because killing of Bakerland and not attacking Loan is one of the reasons is they are like scared about internal conflict, right? They're scared about internal conflict, and if they do attack Loan, they maybe like think, oh, Lowen is so this our family is gonna take opportunity to try to like install themselves in midst of the chaos. Seer and Monster are neighboring pathways. Monster is the Fate pathway. Seer has connections to Fate, but it's not its main docket. So, neighboring pathways, what I mean here is interchangeable, just like how Sleepless is interchangeable with Death pathway, right? Um, and that was because of, from the notes we realized, Roselle's diary, that Monster literally is the Fate pathway. And now, that's what I just think of at the moment, but I'm pretty sure sequence 9 of Monster. 1 second. I might actually talk about it more on the next stream because it's just a revelation. It's called Lucky. No, sequence 7. So what if this pathway is like the Celestial Worthies pathway because it's a luck enchantment? Interesting. But yeah, so it's I think it's interchangeable with Seer. Because of the fate connection mentioned by Roselle. 008 is a high-level dragon pathway artifact or monster pathway artifact. Now, no, it's actually, I'm 100% sure it's dragon pathway artifact. I just wrote down monster because of the fate aspect, but because we get more info on Spectator, I'm 100% certain it's dragon pathway artifact. Also, dragon pathway is Spectator pathway, if you didn't know. It was also revealed in volume 2. So the reason why I think that is because every Beyonder artifact, as we know, is connected to a sequence pathway and abilities of that sequence. If you didn't know, if you only watched the donghua, it wasn't mentioned there, but it was mentioned during Chilango's arc in volume 1. That's going to be adapted into a special episode, I think, this summer. So I said Beyonder who reads Klein's notes. So this was Rosago, right? Is sequence 5 or sequence 6 here? I thought Beast Tamer might be sequence 6 of Seer, and that's what also Klein was thinking. And he's part of the Secret Order. Both was wrong. Working together with Intis Republic Ambassador Bakerland. So it was like this has like 3 theories in one. It was sequence 5 Seer. But he wasn't in the Secret Order and he wasn't Beast Tamer, but he was working with her with Bakerland. So it was like a half-truth theory, I guess. And that's just a theory that like made sense while I was reading it, right? Because who else would like spy on Klein there? If it wasn't Bakerland, it was, but not Bakerland himself, but one of Bakerland's goons. Oops, sorry. Let me make it so you can read everything, guys. Well, I didn't fix it. Maybe zoom out one time. You can still see it, right? Sequence 1 of series The Fooled and sequence 0 is Lord of Mysteries. This is theory that I made up before sequence 0 was revealed, so I went back after to change it from sequence 2 and sequence 1. Now, sequence 2 was revealed in volume 2. It is called Miracle Invoker, which is complete aura, by the way. But the Fool, it's because it kind of makes sense. The Tarot, because of the Tarot Club and because of Death is sequence 0 of the Corpse Collector or Death pathway. So, and the Tarot card Death exists. That's the connection I made. And Lord of Mysteries just because of the title of the series, right? There has to be someone who's Lord of Mysteries. Now, it can be interpreted as Lord of Mysteries being Klein because he's the Lord of the Grey Fog and nobody knows who he is, so he's Lord of Mysteries. He's the mysterious fool, right? He is John Mysteries. But Lord of Mysteries might be another like god figure, or maybe from other pathway, or someone who is controlling Klein's fate, because he's the meme I made last time, remember that? Last stream. So yeah, Cataclysm Interior is Death pathway, Prophet is Bard pathway, Manipulator is Spectre pathway. Now I don't think it was already confirmed, but it was like in the first part of Volume 2 mentioned. And the names, I just thought about the names and then interpreted them to what path they like, connect the best to, right? Manipulator, I'm 100% sure is the Spectre pathway. I don't know about Prophet, but it made sense. It will be the Bard pathway, and Cataclysm there because of, it's chaos and it's like death, so death pathway. The manuscript is a high beyond artifact. So the manuscript of Durrani von Helmsuin, this is the one that Ian Wright stole, by the way. So it's kind of the same theory twice, by the way. And they really want the manuscript back. So I think the manuscript is on the Savant pathway item as well, right? Because they would have like beyond items to do with inventions and blueprints and manuscripts. The book that Mr. A used is from the Reader pathway. There was a book he used against Bakerland when he was going to assassinate Bakerland. And yeah. And it kind of low-key looked like something a reader would have now. Like, of course, the sequence names are all up to like interpretation of yours, how to interpret them, because there's old and new names for them as well, and it's like you have to like remember that, because there are so many different ways you can interpret clown. Look, who's a clown? First of all, a profession in circus. Also, clown is someone dumb, clown who does like dumb decisions, stuff like that. Like, there's so much. Right? For example, lawyer as well. Who is lawyer? Oh, profession, but also lawyer is one who looks at laws and looks for like loopholes in the laws and stuff like that. So it might not even have a good, a good look to it, right? You think of lawyer, you think of like justice and stuff like that, but no, lawyer. You look for loopholes in the law, so it can be anything. Next theory is mime or marionettist or freak of something on Seer pathway. I was really proud of that theory, by the way. I mean, obviously it's half correct, but marionettist ended up being on the Seer pathway, and the reason why I came up with it as well is, first of all, I looked up like mime. I was like, yeah. I mean, looking up like from real world, not from the fucking wiki or anything, but from real world examples, and I looked up like circus roles in real life, and one of them was a mime and like puppet master, and then I looked up like, what's the puppet master called? It was like called marionettist. So I wrote that down, like, one of the sequences might be marionettist, and then freak is also in the circus, and I thought, freak might, like a freaks in circus. I know it's like a pretty outdated idea, but back in like the 19th century, there were people like with body malfunction, not body malfunction, but body like what's it called? Like birth defects and shit like that can be considered freakish. So I thought maybe it's freak of something, like freak of nature or some shit like that, because freak, only freak doesn't sound like a sequence. It might be like a sequence 9, sequence 8, but starting from like sequence 5, the names get more and more like interesting. So it ended up being faceless instead, which is kind of close to freak, by the way. Lawyer and Sun pathway are interchangeable. It was because of Volume 2 had a connection and similar sequence abilities, and that's why I wrote it down. Client's bodyguard is on the secret suppliant pathway and uses traveler ability. Now, the bodyguard in question is Sharon, with 2 R's, not to mix up with Sharon, the demoness from Volume 1. And it didn't end up being like that. It was she's a cool, but like we learned that every single like organism or species interacts differently to potions. That includes probably Susie, by the way, but it wasn't the monster pathway, and it wasn't the secret supplant pathway either. But traveler ability is ability that Force used in Volume 1. Her like bracelet had like 3 uses, and it was like travel ability where you can go through like the spiritual and stuff like that. Scribe is on the lawyer or reader pathway. Now it's not on the lawyer pathway because last stream lawyer pathway from sequence 9 all the way up to sequence 0 was revealed, so it has to be on the reader pathway, but it's not confirmed yet. Whatever pathway Scribe is interchangeable with secret suppliant. Now honestly, I forgot why I wrote that down. we did 37 of the theories, and I don't remember why I write it down, so I might come back to it later. Whatever pathway, Everyone Akada's backstabbed Tudor Empire. Now that's the info from, what was his name again? The house that was bought by Millet Carter, who bought a very noble house, and in the dungeon of that house were statues and remnants of the Black Empire. The Tudor Empire, even statues of everyone at Cadiz, right? And that's why I wrote it down, because we know that Devon at Cadiz was getting rid of a lot of families, or a family in the third epoch. We're currently in the fifth epoch. No, she got rid of them in the fourth epoch. Sorry. Also, it will make sense, right? Because it collapsed. Capim is the guy in the brothel, is a Beyonder tycoon mafia boss. He sold off Sibel to be murdered. Now, that kind of happened, right? So I should confirm it. Context for this is that there's right now serial killing going on in Backland, and Lanevus actually took part of that, not because he was a serial killer, but because he was being manipulated and controlled by the fallen creator, and he was so desperate that he wanted to be captured, so he tried to get caught, and used Capim to get a girl murdered. Some on the lower pathway are interchangeable. Again, I think there were connections in one of the abilities, not confirmed though. Now, another thing is Pound family are descendants of the Tudor Empire family. This was true, by the way, and Pound family, if you don't remember, was the family that owned the Millet Carter house before Millet Carter bought it, and they went to bankruptcy, not because the reason you think, but because whoever inherited that from the dying father, a cousin of like a distant cousin of the previous Pound head or leader, because the two sons got killed by a wraith in a dungeon, and he basically was really cunning and made himself forget, and seriously did 5D chess to himself, and we found out that he was descendant of the Tudor Empire family, and he's still around, by the way, so I have no doubt that he's gonna come back into the story. The guy who killed Williams is the person that Chio hired, if you don't remember, is Mr. A, or from the Aurora Order. It's half true, by the way, it wasn't Mr. A, but it was from the Aurora Order. So half true, I guess, but I'm gonna put true. It wasn't Mr. A, it was called someone like the giant, or not giant, but the tall guy. Again, 008 has a Beyonder soul. This is a theory I went and made on a whim, because of again, the narration from, if you remember donghua, and also from the novel descriptions. And I do think that maybe 008 might start plotting against Inns as well, if it does have a soul or its own consciousness and its own free will. Lanevus and Aurora want to start a war. Now I put no, because their ultimate role is to, summon the fallen creator or free the fallen creator from his chains. But maybe I thought maybe a war would be a good way to cause chaos. That again farm chaos that will benefit the fallen creator, but that didn't happen. The smog of Backland is causing a serious illness and is affecting lower class people the most. Now, this is a very complicated theory and far-fetched one, is that the smog is mentioned a lot of Backland. It's because of Industrial Revolution, but it's for some fucking reason it's yellow, first of all. And second of all, homeless people and lower class people act like zombies at night. Now, that's probably because of bad laws against homeless people, and homeless people can't sleep on the streets and shit like that. So they're basically... Backland is trying to fix homelessness by killing homeless people, right? Because they die of illness and shit. But I was thinking, maybe the smoke is part of a bigger plan where it might be made by the King George and stuff like that to control the population growth and population of the Backland, because we know that even low paying jobs are in demand, very in demand, that they literally go there and in a line wait for 5 hours to get hired, and then 10% of people get hired, 10% of people don't get hired. So there is a serious overpopulation problem, and maybe they are using some kind of like a smoke that targets lower class people to control the population a lot more. So that's why I put purposeful, because the smoke and the fucking smoke can just be, making people sick without it being purposeful as well, because that's what it does usually. Anyway, one of the higher sequence of seer is called Master of Ceremonies. This theory is very easily explained. If you Google, let me show you an example. Who leads a circus? A ringmaster or master of the ceremonies is a person who leads a circus, right? Master of ceremonies. And I don't think it's ringmaster because it has no aura. I think it's master of ceremonies because this name has so much more aura, by the way. Right? And Master of Ceremonies might be sequence 1 or sequence 3 of Seer Pathway. We cannot be sequence 0. Maybe it is, but I don't think it can. I think it's not sequence 4, and sequence 2 is Miracle Invoker. The people of Evernight Kingdom in the Hornatsis Mountains will be resurrected when Klein reaches the mountain range. Now there's a reason why Hornatsis keeps murmuring him, because they want him to go there. Whoever is murmuring high sequence seer, or even like maybe the previous god set up murmurs of the seer pathway, maybe Saratul, we don't know, but people have been like disappearing mysteriously from Evernight Kingdom back in the day, by the way, not recently, back in the day. And I think people will get resurrected when Klein reaches that place. And maybe it activates, like maybe are they like stagnant or whatever, dormant and shit like that. But we'll see. The Grey Fog is somehow connected to the Moses ascetic order. Now, far-fetched one, by the way. Moses means, if you look up Moses meaning on Google, like the Hebrew word or whatever, Moses means drawn from water, or to draw out. Just like how Olger got pulled into the Grey Fog, how people get pulled into the Grey Fog. And Moses means to pull in or draw out. Very, very fucking far-fetched jury, I know, by the way, I know. But still, I see connections, and it might be just a coincidence. But it might not be a coincidence either, so just write it down just in case, so I can later be like, oh, I said so. 51, Mr. Door is imprisoned on the moon. The Evernight Goddess imprisoned him. Now, there's a reason why the Door only speaks to force during like a full moon, like a clear as full moon. It's because I think he's imprisoned, and that's the only way he can speak. And the Door wants, able-bodied apprentices to go and free him, right? And Force obviously wasn't ready yet, and Force maybe her mental wasn't that good, that it basically made her lose control, and she was gonna lose control, but Klein saved her. 52, Apprentice Pathway has connections to the Grey Fog because of the Door, and also because of the spiritual stuff and everything we have talked about before. Also, why the Goddess imprisoned him, because it's the moon, right? It's the moon. That's what I think, the Goddess. The Goddess has imprisoned sequence zeros because there can only be only can be one sequence zero, so it makes sense. Now, if that's me going off the previous theory, or the one before that, is if you imprison a sequence zero, they can't be replaced in the future by a different sequence one, because sequence zero still exists. We know the Fallen Creator has been imprisoned. We know the Hidden Sage doesn't have a body, but the Hidden Sage lives outside the body. It's outside the body, like, the Hidden Sage kind of has like a nos and soul, I guess, or something like that. But yeah, like it makes sense for imprisoning sequence zeros, even though I do think it's gonna be maybe harder to it's easier to kill them or some shit. But it's just, I feel like other people have been imprisoned for that reason. And maybe it is the Goddess, Seer Pathway is interchangeable with Apprentice because of connections of the similar sequences. When using damage transfer as a marionettist on someone you control, you can put your injuries on them. So one of the abilities of a magician is that you can like use damage transfer on your body. For example, if you got a shot in the heart, if you're fast enough, you can put the bullet in your arm or in your fingers or some shit. So I was wondering, if you are controlling someone as a marionettist, can you maybe just put the damage done to you to put on them, like you have a human shield basically. Isaac is Death's son. This is a theory that made sense to me when we were discussing Isaac on stream. Obviously, like, I have moderators and people can't spoil me, but then Death came up, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, what if Isaac is Death's son? Because Death was defeated by the Orthodox gods not that long ago, right? And we also learned about the transfer of Beyonder powers to descendants, right? We learned that if you have sex and you birth, there's a high chance they're already Beyonder, right? And they have Beyonder characteristics and stuff like that already there. Now I think about it. What if, remember Ademisol from Volume 1 and from donghua? Maybe he's the son of like a Sequence Zero. That's why he has big spirituality. Or like, interesting. This randomly. Like, he has a lot of spirituality. Maybe because he's a son of Sequence Line Beyonders. Anyway. People from Vesak Empire are descendants of giant species. That was because of Uratsky, the bishop is in Earth Mother Church, even though he is on the warrior pathway, but he's like reformed and shit like that. And they're all tall, and they even say that they are from the giants, and I think it's true, right? Because their Sequence Zero is called Giant as well. Warrior pathway is interchangeable with sun pathway. A lot of like cleansing and stuff like that. We saw with when Klein was fighting with if I say his name wrong, I'm sorry, Utraski, in like his spirit body, right, deep down, beating like the old self. The fallen creator is the original creator that lost control and went mad. I made this theory, by the way, during the Ancient God revelation and reveal in one of the Tarot clubs by Frederick. Now, you know the creation myth of how the original creator, has body parts and gods come from that. I think it's a metaphor for the original creator's allies. And the allies all were like the Orthodox gods. And, the original creator was supposed to be the 8th Orthodox god, but he lost control and went mad as a Sequence Zero, right? And became the fallen creator. That's why the names are similar. The true creator and the original creator. It is actually the original creator, but, he went mad and was imprisoned by the Orthodox gods to like keep him in control, right? That's what I think. The creation myth is true. The Orthodox gods were original creators, allies who defeated the ancient gods. Yeah, that's what I said as well. And I think the Orthodox gods replaced the ancient gods. For example, Flecrea was Sequence Zero on the sleepless pathway, and then Goddess beat him and became Sequence Zero. And Flecrea was also mentioned during this chapter as well. Characters from the Demo Gathering. The Demo Gathering, by the way, context here is the gathering with Eye of Wisdom, by the way. Are people that we know, like woman who sells Beyonder weapons is Mary. Yeah, I was like, oh, there must be people that we know, but because they're all like undercover wearing masks, just like Tarot Club. The door is the previous defeated Abraham family leader. This was after I realized that Abraham family were holding the apprentice pathway, right? The fallen creator was supposed to be 8th Orthodox god, but was betrayed or lost control. I already talked about this. I just want to write this one down as well. Orthodox gods replaced the ancient gods after a big god war. Yep, I did talk about that. The Lord of Mysteries, whoever that is the owner of the Grey Fog, and the first transmigrator. Now, I actually changed that theory recently in the last stream. I think it's actually celestial worthy, and Lord of Mysteries might just be the nickname for Klein, but we'll see. The person who stopped Klein at the expedition is a descendant of Roselle, the person who, used like the pea wines, and also when Klein first stole the slate the bookmark the blasphemous slate, and it was revealed that this one was about the Black Emperor pathway. And I don't think so anymore. I think it's like a high sequence beyonder who wanted to steal as well. Maybe a transmigrator, maybe someone who can speak Chinese or deciphered the diary, because I think we saw her looking at the diary before. If Seer is interchangeable with Lawyer, Klein is going to switch. So Lawyer, also known as the Black Emperor pathway, because Klein now has the full list. Anyway, so I thought it makes sense. So these are my 6-day theories. I'm gonna record and upload Volume 1 review in a month or something. You can watch my Volume 2 streams. I'm live 3, 4, 5 times a week on YouTube. If you wanna watch my reactions early, you can on Patreon, but I will upload them gradually to YouTube as well under the live tab. And yeah, I'll see you soon.